Alright YouTube, I've been asked to do this and I have absolutely no clue the best way to make a video, but I'm making a video for the Kerma DSG tuning. And I'm going to try to explain the difference in it. So what it is over here on my P3 gauge, I got a little sun for it, but I got that set up on throttle. So it's going to go from percentage from 0, which I'm at now at a red light, to 100%. Then I have the RPMs and everything. And I'm going to try to explain the difference with the DSG tune over a stock tune, over a little bit different speed mileage. Now, first thing it does is instead of dropping you down to, 1100, 1200 RPM, it keeps you right around the 2000 RPM band, which is nice because that's right around when your peak torque is. It's also when your peak mile per gallon range is, because that's when your engine's working most efficiently. So from that point, you can tell, you're going to be at about this speed, about 50 miles per hour anyways. But when you're going down the road at 30 miles per hour, instead of being at a super low RPM like 1100 or 1200 RPM, it'll keep you between 19 and 21, right in your peak range. So that way you already have a decent amount of boost going. And you can tell, I'm just barely on this the throttle here. I'm about 42%. I'm accelerating up to 55 miles per hour now. But very little effort to do it. I'm only barely feathering the throttle at all to get up to speed. That, and I'll show you deceleration. It still works like an average transmission. When you go to brake, it doesn't have an excessive amount of pull, and it doesn't rev down too far. It's a little bit more rough when it's cold out, when it comes to engagement, because the engagement gets firmed up. So when it's cold, the transmission's a little sticky still, but it still works. You can tell right now in regular drive mode, it's keeping me in the RPM band. Everything's working nice. It's not shifting real hard. I don't have to sit here and gun it to be able to get the speed. So it works nicely. That, and I've noticed the fact that the acceleration when you get up and going is quite a bit quicker. I think my best 0 to 60 time was 7.22 seconds on a flat straight with traction control off. And I got decent tires. I got some what is it, a Korean made, what the heck are they, Hankooks or something like that. They're not bad. I got them a discount tire for $450 for a set with the roadside and all that. But as you can tell, not obsessive, crazy RPM or anything. Everything's driving smooth. I'm trying to watch the road while I'm going, so don't mind if I'm not going super quick. I'm going to show you the acceleration difference. We're coming up at a red light, so I'm going to accelerate to 55 miles per hour for you. I'm going to do it a little quick. I'm not going to go crazy on it. So that way you can see I'm in a slight downgrade, not too much, mostly pretty level. It's 57 degrees out here in Texas in February. Gotta love Texas. All right, green light, and there we go. Get on it. I did that with only going up to 60% throttle. Oh, got another red light. Now this one, I will put it in the sport mode. Okay, now I did brake traction a little bit, which when you're pushing 350 plus foot-pounds, it kind of does that. I'm going to try to do it at an angle this time so you can see how much throttle I'm putting down on it, because it brakes real easy now with the Kerma tune, so I have to kind of get off on it just a little bit. All right. Shit, spinning. And that, as you can tell, the biggest problem is trying to keep traction, honestly. It's a little hard, even with sport tires. Even when it's warm out, even when it's dry, you still brake a little bit. Now the big thing about the sport mode, which I have it on now, is it holds RPM a lot better. So, if I let off on it, it decelerates you down quite a bit, especially going around corners. It's a lot more reactive. You don't have that slag. Like usually you get on, it's like, oh, what do I want to do? Kind of try to figure it out for a few seconds and then go. As you hit the accelerator, it locks up the clutches, it locks up the torque. Bam, you go. Simple as that. I'm going to be coming around a corner here in a minute. You know, I've been doing 55 miles per hour, so it's not very eventful at the moment. But I'm going to show you in sport mode how it holds you with the RPM bands around the corner. Which I can't explain to you the lateral G, but it will definitely throw you in your seat pretty well. So, what do we got going on here? Okay, now, as you can see, the RPM holds at a higher amount to help decelerate you. And there's a cop right in front of me, so I got to be careful for a second. Okay, once again, holding the torque RPM band. And like I said, it's just instantaneous. The second you press the accelerator, the transmission grabs, you go. Simple as that. I'm going to put it back into drive mode, because when you're in sport mode, your fuel mileage is going to burn a little bit more, because you're going to be a little bit higher. But you can tell when you're cruising at speed. And I'm doing 45 right now. It sits at a lower RPM, but the second you need it, you put a little bit of gas on it, puts you right back in your peak range of 2,000. And like I said, the lockup's pretty good. It's definitely a little bit more firm. It will grab and pull. Like I said, traction, it's not a major issue. It's not ridiculously stupid amounts of traction, but it still is to the point where, you know, if you get past 50-60% throttle, it will break your tires free. I don't know if you got any questions, comments, concerns. I really don't know what I'm doing when it comes to making a video right now. This is a first for me. I'm just trying to walk you through what I felt, and you can actually see the gauges and a little bit of the throttle if one for my big hand being away and my big flappy shifter McBobber. So if you got any questions, comments, concerns, not so Slim Jim, hit me up. I know I said I was done, but I'm getting to a slower speed area. So people, I'm sure, are going to ask how it reacts at a lower RPM band. So I'm at my school here, and I'm going to let you see how it holds. Now, if you're below 20 miles per hour, it pretty much keeps you in the lower range. But noticing now I'm doing 25, and instead of dropping me down to 1100, it's keeping me about 1900. Now, believe it or not, that is actually going to give you better gas mileage, because your engine's working more efficiently, because you're making more boost and you have less demand on the engine. So right there you can see holding at 2,000, doing 26 miles per hour, and there's a lot of cops around here, so I don't really want to get on it too much. But the greatest part though is usually, you know, you're at 1100, 1200 RPM, and then you go to get on it, it's got a real bad delay. This one, you can see the RPM just whips right through all the way up to 3,000 plus RPM. Kicks you in speed. Now, like I said, I'm in my school and there's a lot of cops around here. I don't want to get a freaking giant ticket or run over some blind kid or something, so I'm not going to do any you know, hooligan stuff here. But that's pretty much it. Like I said, you know, it holds you at a better RPM. It gives you a lot more control, instead of having to go back and forth. Go ahead, buddy. Yeah, go ahead. Come on, Toyota, come on. You're there first. I don't know how red lights work. Anyways, gives you a little bit more control. You can drive the car with the throttle versus having to go brake throttle, brake throttle, brake throttle. Like right now, you can't see because of sunlight. I'm at 2%, 1%. And you just, you know, the throttle, a little bit of driving, don't got to hit my brakes. It allows you to slow down because you're at a slightly higher RPM. And even though it's working more efficiently, you can let off on it, and it'll use the engine to kind of slow everything down versus having to get on your brakes, get on your brakes. So, yeah, I got coilovers, so my car is a little bouncy. My bad. But yeah, low RPM band, lower speed, it still works really great. It's still completely drivable. It doesn't buck. It doesn't shift real hard. You know, it's pretty smooth. It's definitely firmer. It takes a little bit of getting used to at first. You know, it's kind of a shock with the amount of, you know, control you have over the, thanks lady, over the engine with just the throttle. But after driving around for about a week, it becomes second nature, and it feels a lot more like a sports car. Not so much in the economy mode, but when you put it in the sport, it's definitely a sport setting. Like I said, it will allow you to control the car, accelerate a lot quicker, a lot more higher RPM. I mean, you can get your maximum boost out of your turbo real easy, really great. So questions, comments, concerns, hit me up.